The once mighty Roman Empire, a crumbling giant, was well past its days of glory. Rivalries across all borders and split powers threatened the very core of the empire's existence. Yet a terrifying force from the east, unlike anything before it, the Scourge of God, was primed to sweep across the continent, destroying everything in its path. This unprecedented challenge would force bitter rivals to unite in a shared goal of survival. Hello, and welcome to Impactful Moments, where we explore some of the most, you guessed it, impactful moments in human history. If history is your thing, or you simply enjoy learning new topics, please consider liking and subscribing to our channel. Your support helps us to continue creating captivating, impactful historical content. In this video, we will discuss the Battle of the Catalaunian Plains, the clash that saved Western society. The Roman Empire, once the ultimate colossus, began to see cracks in its dominance by the end of the 2nd century CE. By the mid-3rd century, Germanic tribes and the upstart Sasanian Persians pressed against its borders from all sides. Rome, however, survived these crises, even recruiting some of their Germanic tribes as foederati, or mercenary soldiers, to their ranks. However, by the late 4th century, tensions flared once more. The Goths, Vandals, Alans, Burgundians, and others faced broken promises and harsh treatment from the Roman emperors like Valens and Theodosius I. This resentment led to battles such as Adrianople, where Valens himself was killed. Raids then ravaged the Western Roman Empire, which had split from the east after Theodosius' death in 395, climaxing with the Visigoths' devastating sack of Rome in 410 AD. Despite these conflicts, Rome maintained a fragile peace with the Germanic tribes for much of the early 5th century, because, as the adage goes, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and both sides faced a terrifying new foe. As noted, Germanic tribes harbored resentment towards Rome, fueled by mistreatment, which stemmed from the desperate pleas for refuge by tribes east of the Danube River in the mid-4th century. These tribes faced a vicious onslaught from a rising military force in the Central Asian steppes, a coalition of nomadic warriors with unmatched horsemanship and archery. These tribes, known as the Huns, used ruthless tactics, developing a reputation for destruction, instilling fear in all who encountered them. The origins of the Huns remains largely a mystery. Some theories trace their lineage back to the Scythians, nomadic warriors who dominated the Eurasian steppe. Others propose a connection with the Xiongnu, a powerful confederation that clashed for centuries with major dynasties in China. Regardless of their ancestry, by the 1st century CE, these nomads were recognized by the Roman Tacitus, though not yet as a major threat. Their rise in the late 4th century under Chief Olden, however, was undeniable. The Huns developed a ruthless reputation as they ravaged Germanic tribes like the Alans and Goths, destroying lands and incorporating the conquered into their mobile armies. Driven by these relentless attacks, the desperate Germanic tribes sought refuge within the Roman Empire. Around that same time, the Huns launched vicious raids, destroying towns in eastern Roman provinces like Thrace and Syria. The Romans opted to appease the Huns with increasingly expensive tributes rather than engage in open warfare. The Hunnic people, previously a collection of independent tribes, were beginning to centralize, first under the leadership of Ruhila, and following his death in 434, under his nephews Bleda and Attila. Recognizing the fear they instilled in Rome, the brothers negotiated a series of humiliating one-sided agreements with the Eastern Roman Emperor Theodosius II that enriched the Huns at Rome's expense. Following Bleda's death in 445, quite possibly by Attila's hand, Attila became the sole ruler of the Hunnic Empire. Despite his ruthless reputation, which earned him the nickname the Scourge of God, as Christians saw him as divine retribution for society's ills, Attila initially maintained a relatively peaceful relationship with Western Rome. He even provided auxiliary troops to their army against some Germanic incursions. Furthermore, as part of a good faith treaty, a brilliant future Western Roman general named Flavius Aetius was sent as a Hunnic hostage/resident for 15 years. Aetius' presence in the Hunnic court likely played a significant role in maintaining positive relations between Rome and the Huns. While the precise reasons are debated among historians, the Romanic-Hunnic peace was shattered in 451. According to the Roman historian Jordanus, the peace was broken when Gaiseric, the Vandal king, attempted to sow political discord between the Visigoths, Huns, and Western Roman Empire. Other historical accounts focus on a desperate act by Honoria, sister of the Western Roman Emperor Valentinian III. Forced into an unwanted betrothal, Honoria reportedly sent a plea to Attila, using her engagement ring as a sign. Attila interpreted this as a marriage proposal, and claimed half of the Western Empire as a dowry. When Valentinian refused the marriage and exiled Honoria, Attila sent an emissary to Ravenna, the empire's capital, declaring that he was coming to claim what was rightfully his. The Roman-Hunnic divide was further exacerbated when the Frankish king died, and his children fought over succession. One son approached Attila for help, while the other sought assistance from the Roman general Aetius, further pinning the two sides against each other. All accounts agree that in 451 a vast Hunnic army, including conquered Germanic tribes, crossed the Rhine on a savage path of destruction through Gaul. The Huns wrought devastation across numerous Gallic cities, from Argentoratum, modern-day Strasbourg, to Aurelianum, Orleans. Rome turned to Flavius Aetius, their general who had risen to military prominence by navigating internal power conflicts, defeating rival general Felix, and later succeeding Bonifacius following his death. Aetius had guided Rome through various Germanic incursions, largely halting the empire's downward spiral in the 430s and 440s. His 15 years among the Huns, during a period of peace, also gave him crucial knowledge of their tactics. Aetius mobilized a coalition of Romans, Visigothian forces led by their king Theodoric, Burgundians, Alans, Franks, and other Germanic troops. Despite not quite being on the best terms, they united in their joint goal to halt the Huns who had terrorized them all. Together, they broke what may have been a Hunnic siege at Aurelianum and pursued Attila's forces, meeting them on the Catalaunian Plains. The precise location of the Catalaunian Plains is debated, initially thought to be modern-day Chalons, but the confrontation on June 20th, 451, is widely considered one of the most crucial battles in history. Historians estimate that each side fielded roughly 50,000 warriors, a mix of cavalry, infantry, and archers. As the battle commenced, the initial Hunnic horse archer assault was largely repelled by the Germanic and Roman shield walls. The ensuing struggle devolved into a brutal close-quarter clash. Neither side gained a clear advantage, though the Huns inflicted significant casualties on the Visigoths, killing their king, Theodoric. A contingent of Visigoths, led by Theodoric's son Thorismund, responded by attacking the Hunnic line, inflicting heavy damage and contributing to an eventual Hunnic retreat to their camp. Some accounts suggest that the Visigoths may have laid siege to the Hunnic camp, hoping to avenge their slain king and capitalize on the Huns' weakened state and dwindling supplies. Rome's general Flavius Aetius, aware of the fragile alliance between Rome and the Germanic tribes, made a shrewd decision. Recognizing that a complete Hunnic annihilation could disrupt the coalition, Aetius convinced Thorismund to quickly return home and claim the Visigoth throne, before internal conflict could arise. The next day, both sides disengaged and retreated. The Battle of the Catalaunian Plains was not a decisive victory and had no clear victor, but it effectively halted Attila's westward expansion and, at least for the time being, saved the Western Roman Empire. As the dust settled over the Catalaunian Plains, an unsettling calm set in. After the Huns retreated east, a sigh of relief swept through Rome and the Germanic tribes who had fought alongside them. The situation, however, remained far from settled, as the Hunnic next move was unclear. Attila, though weakened, launched another series of destructive raids into Italy in 452, targeting Rome itself. Legend tells of Pope Leo I meeting Attila and somehow persuading him to spare the city. The following year, in 453, Attila died, possibly from a nosebleed on his wedding night. Internal conflicts over his succession erupted, leading to the rapid disintegration of the Hunnic Empire. For the Romans, Aetius' victory was viewed as one that saved the empire, leading to his immense popularity. The battle is often seen as the final great moment in the Western Roman Empire's history, and has even christened Aetius by some as the last Roman. This reputational rise, however, concerned the higher-ups. In 454, as the empire was actually experiencing an oasis of relative calm, Emperor Valentinian III had Aetius assassinated. This was quickly followed by the assassination of Valentinian at the hands of Petronius Maximus in 455, who then seized the throne. Needless to say that Rome was plunged right back into turmoil. Valentinian's death was soon followed by the Vandal sacking of Rome, which even saw the death of Petronius Maximus. From this point on, with the exception of Majorian's attempted revival, the Western Roman Empire essentially existed in name only. Its territories were constantly under pressure from encroaching Germanic tribes. Subsequent Roman emperors were mere puppets to powerful military figures, often Germanic, like Ricimer and Odoacer. The final blow finally came in 476, when Odoacer deposed the last Western Roman emperor, and, rather than installing a new one, simply took the throne himself, marking the official end of the empire. On the surface, the Battle of the Catalaunian Plains might not appear that significant. There was no clear-cut victor in the battle, the Western Roman Empire's decline persisted, and Attila himself even launched another destructive campaign just a year later. No immediate dramatic shift occurred. Yet, while there are views that question the historical significance of this battle, most traditional historical accounts view it as one of the most profoundly impactful military outcomes in human history, and one that preserved Western culture. Aetius symbolized Rome's last stand. Aside from being its last great general, he and his army represented the remnants of a declining Roman and allied military. A defeat at Attila's hand may have given the Huns free rein to take the surrounding lands virtually unopposed, possibly leading to a vastly different Europe than the one we know today. We don't know the Hunnic goals. They left no written records, and even with their spreading influence and vast controlled territory, they remained nomadic, with practically no permanent settlements. What we do know is that they were pagan, and that they had little regard for Christian lifestyle and Roman culture prevalent across Europe at the time. With a Hunnic victory at the Catalaunian Plains, and continued raids from Attila, the fall of Rome could have likely arrived much sooner, and looked quite different from the one that occurred 2 decades later. While, as noted, the Huns continued raids the following year in Italy, those never truly threatened the direction of European society the way the Gallic conquest did. The Germano-Roman halt of the Hunnic expansion on the Catalaunian Plains likely preserved the spread of Christianity, leading Europe to adopt a Western culture rather than following a potentially pagan, Hunnic, and ultimately unrecognizable trajectory. I hope you enjoyed this video and found this period in history both informative and enlightening. Please feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below, and I hope you can join us for another video. Thanks for watching.